it's Amanda. I'm going to show you 3 ways to place your overlays onto an image. And these 3 ways, it just depends on, I use each of them depending on where my files are and what I'm working in. So that's why I wanted to show you all 3 ways. I don't want to overcomplicate it, but it's, all of them are pretty simple. So I'm in my bokeh overlay collection right here. It's in my Dropbox folder, and I'm going to be working on an image from my friend Justine. This is her Instagram account. Go over and give her a follow, you guys. Justine Lenee, and I'm going to be using this image right here, and you can see she has some really beautiful images here. But what I did, I asked her permission and she was sweet to let me do this. I actually just took a screenshot of it. So it's not going to be full size or anything like that. So it's kind of a crummy base image to work with in terms of the file quality. Obviously, it's perfect for what we're going to do here. So yeah, Justine Lenee, go ahead and give her a follow, you guys. Super sweet, and again, really pretty stuff. This one is really cool. I love that. So let's go ahead. I've got this base image up in Photoshop, and as you can see, I probably didn't do a great job of screenshotting it. You can see some random stuff along the bottom. So if I were wanting to put a bokeh overlay on this, one of the easiest things I can do is a file place. So I'm just going to go up here to my file menu, and then we've got place embedded and place linked. In the text on this lesson, I explain it, or you can easily Google it. I always go with place embedded. Place embedded will result in a larger file at the end because it actually embeds the full pixels, the full resolution of the overlay or whatever you're placing, whatever it is that you're placing on the base image. So it's going to result in a bigger file size. If you have a place linked, if you want to do it this way, you'll have a smaller file size. However, if you ever pull this file up again, your computer would need to be able to reference it back. So for me, I keep all of my images on an external hard drive. I usually keep my overlays there or Dropbox or wherever. So if I were to use place linked, let's say a few years from now, I pull up a file, a PSD file, and I wanted to edit it. If Photoshop cannot reference the linked file, you're going to have issues. You're not going to be able to, I don't know. I don't know what would happen, y'all, because I don't use it. I just go ahead and do place embedded because I don't really care about file sizes. I keep everything on my external hard drive, so it's not really a big deal for me, and I just, that's what I use. Now, you'll see here a Command P shortcut. That is a custom shortcut that I created. So this is not your custom shortcut. You would actually need to override the default Command P shortcut in Photoshop, which I believe is one of the print, one of the print, like one of these guys here, probably just file print. But I overrode that because I never print from Photoshop ever. But I do a whole lot of placing. In fact, for my job, I actually use place embedded multiple times a day. So that's one that it just made sense for me to override that and create a custom shortcut. And in the text in this one, I think I linked to a blog post as well where I show you exactly how I do that. It's super simple. So I'm going to go ahead and place embedded or hit Command P for me. And then here I can pull up stuff. My overlays reside in my Dropbox folder here, but obviously they could be anywhere. They could be in an external hard drive, for example. So you'll just use your Finder, or if you're on a PC or Windows machine, however y'all do your folders, you'll locate that folder here. So I'm gonna find it. And then from here, now these are fairly small, like I can sort of see what I'm doing, but not perfectly. But let's see, what do I kind of want to work with? Because I'm thinking I want to use some of this negative space. Now the downside is that The negative space over here is dark. I'm sorry, it's not dark, it's bright. And you really want, for the overlay to work its magic, ideally, you'll put the overlay on a dark area of the frame. Now, again, Justine was not knowing that I was going to do this originally. So obviously, if this were my image, maybe I would darken this side of the frame, and that way the bokeh overlay would make a little bit more sense. Um, and I can still do that as well. So if I'm looking around here, what do I want to use? What do I want to use? Let me just go ahead. I'm going to just double click on this one or click on it and hit place, either way. And then it's going to pop on there like this. Oh, these are little hearts, so that'll be really cute. Actually, that'll work really cute for this one. Or I could have used the pink hearts because she's got that little red bow, so that would have looked cute too. So the first thing I'm gonna do, you'll see I'm in my transform mode, which means that I've got these little handles and I can move this around. Now by default, it has a bounding box or it constrains the crop. So it's constraining the crop here. I'm not touching anything else on the keyboard. If I wanted to stretch this and I didn't want to be confined by the ratio here, I could hold down my shift key. And if I'm doing that, now I can move it over. Now I don't want to warp my hearts, but they don't really look that warped to me. So I'm fine with it. And so I've covered my image completely. I'm going to go over here. Well, first I'm going to hit return, which will place it. And then if I needed to make any adjustments or anything like that, all I would do is hit Command T again for transform to be able to modify it. So over here, I've got my bokeh overlay selected in my layers panel. I'm going to go to my blend modes and I'm going to choose screen blend mode. So there's that. That's kind of cute. I kind of like that. What would I do if this were my image? Let's see. Maybe, and one thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna command and hit minus minus, and that way I can kind of, now I'm gonna hit Command T for transform. That way I can really, I'm gonna hold down shift. That way I can really move this around a little bit. I think I might place that one here. So I'm gonna hit return. Okay, and then I'm going to go over here to my layers panel. I'm going to hit Command J to duplicate it. I'm going to highlight this one, the duplicated one. My move tool is already selected. I can tell that. If yours isn't, you can hit V for move. And I'm going to kind of move this maybe like right there. Okay, so I'm going to hit Command 0 or maybe Command minus one more time. So you can kind of see how that looks. That's cute and all, but I really don't want to stop here at all. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this very first one that went on there, or you could actually group these. Why don't we just go ahead and group them? You could put a layer mask on these individually if you wanted to, but honestly, it's shorter to group them. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Command and click this one. They're both selected. I'm going to hit Command G. Now they're in my little group. And now I'm going to go down here. Hopefully you can see this on the screen recording. And I'm going to add a black, well, no, I'm going to hit a white mask. I'm going to just do a white mask for this one. I choose what color my mask is depending on how much of it I want to show through. I want to save as much time as possible and brush off as little as possible. So in this case, I actually do want to keep most of this going on. So I'm going to go ahead and do a white mask. So I'm going to hit this button here, white mask over here. I'm going to go over to my brush tool. You'll see here in the palette or the swatches that my white brush is selected. White on white means you can't see anything. So I'm going to hit B for brush, and then I'm going to hit X to switch my swatches. You can hit X and they'll switch. So I want to make sure that I have a black brush selected. If ever you're brushing and you're like, nothing's happening, it might be that you have the same color brush selected. That happens to me. Or if you look up here, opacity and flow up here. I'm going to, my flow's at 90. I'm going to hit Shift 5 to drop it down to 50. I want my opacity to 100. That's fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to lower my brush. I hit my bracket key. Actually, I do want that close to 90. I'm gonna brush anything off of her face. Um, I love how her little hand is pointing, but it's pointing at like a half heart. I don't like those half hearts, you know. And if there's anything else that I kind of just don't like, um, maybe I'll get rid of that. So yeah, and again, this won't be perfect. It's for demonstration purposes for sure. But I don't like some of these little half hearts. I really don't like that. It looks weird. It doesn't look like hearts, and they should look like hearts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a good heart. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. I, you know, you certainly don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. But I'm just going to kind of clone a bunch of these hearts. So I pulled up a blank layer here by going down here, putting up a blank layer. I've got that one selected. I'm going to hit S for clone stamp. Opacity and flow are at 100%. My brush size doesn't really matter. It's super soft, which I'll leave it that way. And so I think what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to go back here to this group, and I'm going to get rid of, whoopsie. Oh, I'm still on my clone stamp. I'm going to go B for brush, black brush, and I'm going to get rid of some of these random ones over here. I'm okay, I guess, with that kind of stuff. But all right, so back to this layer here. I love this bright heart here, and I really like this lighter colored heart here. Now, here's the funny thing. The wall color back here is a lot darker than the wall color over here. So if I were to clone this over here, it would probably look really funny. So I'm gonna stick with these over here. So I'm gonna hit S for my clone stamp. I'm gonna probably make that a little smaller. And I'm gonna just hit Option on my Mac. I think it's Alt on a PC, and I can always move that around too. So I can go in here to my clone stamp and see this guy. I can move this guy around, and it'll change up the, you know, the angle of my heart. So if I didn't want them all to look the same, right? So, and that one does kind of look the same. It shouldn't, but you see how it's got that dark outline? I don't love that. And again, that's more of the, wonder why that's not doing it. That's really funny. What should happen, and help me out, y'all, if I am being funny, but this should change the angle of my hearts, and it's not doing it. So that is very bizarre. I'll go in here. I'm going to clone this guy and maybe put it like right there. And I don't love how similar all of these are, but that's life in the big city. And we need something up here. I definitely really feel like we need more up here. I don't love that dark outline there. So I would fix that. I would definitely fix that. This is a little blob that I would probably go in and fix as well. There's some blobbiness over here. So that's kind of how I would roll with that one. Or what I might do is go in here, and again, I could take this bokeh overlay, Command J, and have another one, V for move, and I could kind of move this, you know, up here to give me some more hearts up in that area. And again, if that's a little too much, I could mask that off. I could add why don't I do this? I'm going to add a black mask. So I'm going to hit down, hold down, Option, and then my mask icon down here. Because it's a black mask, I need a white brush. So I'm going to hit B and then X. Now I have my white brush. And I will probably just add some up in this area where we're kind of missing. Yeah, and I don't love that. So I'm going to hit X to get my black brush again and get rid of this guy. And maybe that one. So yeah, kind of interesting. I mean, I don't love it, but it adds a little bit of interest. And more than anything, I'm not trying to show you guys how to edit. More so, I'm trying to teach you how to place your bokeh overlays. So I went a little bit far in that one. Let me go ahead, and I'm going to cut off this video, and then I'll show you the second way to place your overlays. So the first way to place your overlays is by going to File, Place, Linked or Embedded. Either one will work. But I tend to go with embedded just because I don't want to have trouble down the road. And file sizes do not bother me. So that is the first way that you would be able to place your overlays.